So we have some new information and data out from the Department of Health and Human Services, and using official statistics on drug use by race, we can map out any disparities or inconsistencies in the system. So let me show you the chart of drug users versus drug arrests. Yep, isn't that telling? So according to the federal data, 19.5 million drug users in America are white. Only 3.9 million are black. So there are 5 times more white drug users than blacks, and blacks are 60% of the drug prisoners. That really is amazing when you look at it, man. So, again, other studies have shown that white people and black people use drugs at a very similar rate, but black people get arrested 4 times more often. And I think this chart shows it in an even more stunning way, the way it's laid out in front of you like that. So it's quite an upsetting and disastrous situation. And what I always ask a lot of conservatives who would look at this and they would dismiss it is, but do you realize that there's no other explanation for this other than racism? You know, like it's not, this is well beyond, if you ask statisticians about this, they'll say it's well beyond just what could have happened in terms of a disparity by accident. So, like, it's racist. It's clear that this is racism. We're talking about a system where police officers in the judicial system, they're much more likely to punish black people for drug use compared to white people. It's the same thing, but black people get punished more often. There's no other way to describe it other than, now it may be, to be kind, it may be more subconscious biases at this point, right? Maybe not, I don't know, but it's a possibility that it's not, they're not like specifically looking for black people in terms of they're nefarious and they're going, we will look for black people more than white people. But whether it's subconscious or conscious is irrelevant, because either way, there's a disproportionate punishment. And I was thinking about this the other day because I was watching a Cops marathon, the show Cops, and I was strangely interested in the show. I mean, I never really watched it before, but I was actually really into it as I was watching it. And they've been showing a lot of marathons recently of the show. And I found that it was a 50-50 show. That's how I would describe it. And what I mean by that is 50% of the time, I was really angry and I was borderline about to throw shit at my TV because you would have the cops harassing these poor people who are just using drugs. That's it. They weren't doing anything else wrong. That they would arrest people for no matter what the drug was. Sometimes it was marijuana, sometimes it was cocaine, sometimes it was heroin, sometimes it was meth. But they would arrest these poor people who just wanted to get high, you know? And I'm going, that's so wrong, because just imagine somebody who goes to get tequila, goes to get Jack Daniels at the store. Like, to arrest that guy for getting Jack Daniels, you would say, that's fucked up, leave him alone. But what? Oh, it's all of a sudden so different when it's weed? It's not different, it's the same principle at work. But the cops were so convinced they were right in locking these people up, and it was so frustrating. And then the other 50% of the time, they would show these cops legitimately being heroes. Like, there'd be an assault, they would show up, break up the situation, lock up the person who was the perpetrator and who was violent, okay? I mean, there were so many examples of actual crimes being committed, and you have the cops show up and they save the day like heroes. And what struck me was this. If you get rid of the drug war and you stop having all these taking all these drugs and selling these drugs, if you make that legal, if you legalize drugs and you treat it like alcohol and tobacco and other substances, you regulate it, tax it, etc., well then overnight like this, all of a sudden, you know, the police abuse of authority and problems associated with the police department and law enforcement, it drops tremendously. That's not to say there still wouldn't be racist cops and they still wouldn't abuse their authority and their power, and there still wouldn't be the blue shield and this in-group, out-group mentality. That would still exist. There's no question about that. But would it be cut dramatically if you legalize drugs? Absolutely! If you do that, if you stop the war on drugs, legalize, tax, regulate, And then you also make all the police officers wear cameras. Oh my God, I think the police would be overwhelmingly the most loved group of people in the country. Because when you have them on camera, they always act better. Okay? It's almost painfully obvious. It's almost, you could see it at face value. If they're being monitored and there's a camera, if they were on the show Cops all the time, they would be awesome, right? They would always act great. If you get rid of drug crimes and if you just have the camera there. I mean, these are such simple solutions, and it would make the society much healthier. Very few people, or much less people, I should say, would be in jail, and you would just stop this incredibly crazy, racist, random persecution and repression that we're doing of minorities because of the drug war.